Commander Zethkar stood before the massive viewing screen in the bridge of the Imperial Dreadnought, Vanguard of Truth. The blue marble that hung in space before them looked peaceful, almost innocent. It was hard to believe that this small world had caused the Galactic Empire such embarrassment over the past 3 months. "Status report," Zethkar commanded, his 4 arms clasped behind his back in the traditional Krillian military stance. "Sir, the human resistance continues to avoid direct engagement," reported his tactical officer, a spider-like arachnid whose multiple eyes glowed with frustration. "They retreat whenever our forces approach in significant numbers. Intelligence suggests they have abandoned most of their major cities." Zethkar's mandibles clicked in disgust. The humans had been such a disappointment. When the Empire first discovered Earth 6 months ago, there had been hope that this new species might provide worthy soldiers for the Imperial Army. The humans had shown promise with their various conflicts throughout their history, but when faced with superior alien technology and overwhelming numbers, they had proven to be nothing but cowards. "Typical," muttered General Voxtar, the Empire's most decorated Ursinoid commander. His bear-like features twisted into a sneer. "The humans run and hide like frightened children. In my home world, we would have faced the enemy with honor, even against impossible odds." "Perhaps we gave them too much credit," Zethkar replied. "Their historical conflicts were against their own kind, using primitive weapons. When faced with true military might, they show their true nature." The bridge crew murmured their agreement. It had become common knowledge throughout the fleet that humans were cowards. The evidence was overwhelming. Every time Imperial forces landed on Earth, the humans would evacuate rather than fight. Their military had scattered into the wilderness. Their governments had gone into hiding. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Corthan aboard the Crushing Talon. Put him through." The holographic image of Admiral Corthan materialized in the center of the bridge. The massive rhino-like Pachyoid's tusks gleamed as he spoke. "Commander Zethkar, I trust your sector remains quiet." "Unfortunately, yes. The humans continue their cowardly retreat." "We haven't had a proper battle in weeks." Corthan's laugh was like grinding stone. "The same here. High Command is becoming impatient. Emperor Thaxmore wants results, not reports of humans running through forests like wild animals." "What are your orders, Admiral?" "Begin systematic destruction of their abandoned cities. If they won't come out to fight like warriors, we'll destroy everything they hold dear until they have no choice but to surrender." "Understood, sir. We'll begin with the settlement they call New York City." "Excellent. Perhaps watching their monuments burn will finally give them the courage to face us properly." As the transmission ended, Zethkar felt a mixture of satisfaction and disappointment. He had hoped for a challenging campaign, perhaps even the chance to test the Empire's newest weapons against worthy opponents. Instead, he was reduced to destroying empty buildings to force cowards out of hiding. "Prepare the bombardment fleet," he ordered. "Target the large island settlement first. Make sure the humans can see it burning from orbit." 3 hours later, the Imperial bombardment began. Massive energy beams lanced down from the fleet, reducing skyscrapers to molten slag. The Statue of Liberty lasted exactly 3.7 seconds under concentrated fire. Central Park became a crater that could be seen from space. "Any response from the humans?" Zethkar asked. "Negative, sir. Some scattered communication chatter, but no military response." Pathetic. Unknown to the Imperial forces deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Colonel Jack Reaper Morrison watched the destruction of New York through a satellite feed on a ruggedized tablet. His weathered face showed no emotion as America's largest city burned, but his gray eyes held a cold fury that would have made the Empire reconsider their assessment of human courage. Morrison commanded what remained of the United States' most elite Special Operations Unit. Officially, they were designated as Joint Special Operations Command Task Force Black. Unofficially, enemy combatants in dozens of conflicts had called them something else entirely: the American Boogeymen. "Sir," said Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, the unit's intelligence specialist. Her voice was steady despite watching her hometown disappear in flames. "Satellite tracking shows the main Imperial fleet repositioning for the next bombardment. Looks like they're targeting Chicago next." Morrison closed the tablet and looked around the cave system that served as their temporary command post. 37 of America's deadliest soldiers sat in the shadows, cleaning weapons, checking equipment, and preparing for a war unlike any they had ever fought. They had been called cowards for 3 months while they watched, learned, and planned. "Listen up, Boogeymen," Morrison said, his voice carrying clearly through the cavern. "For 3 months, we've let these alien bastards think we're afraid. We've studied their tactics, their technology, and their arrogance. We've mapped every ship, counted every soldier, and identified every weakness." Master Sergeant David Ghost Chen looked up from the alien energy rifle he had been reverse engineering. "Boss, my team has cracked their shield frequencies. We can punch through their personal barriers, and I've got a theory about their ship defenses. Explosive ordnance teams report success with captured weapons," added Staff Sergeant Tommy Boom Rodriguez. "We can make their own munitions work against them." Morrison nodded. "Good. Captain Williams, what's the status on Operation Nightmare?" Captain Sarah Phantom Williams stood from where she had been studying tactical maps. She was the unit's psychological warfare specialist, and her suggestions had shaped their strategy from the beginning. "All teams are in position across 12 states. We've got eyes on every major Imperial installation. When we move, we hit them simultaneously." "Outstanding." Morrison's smile was predatory. "The aliens think they understand humans because they've read our history books and watched our wars. They see us retreating and assume we're cowards. They've made the same mistake that terrorists, cartels, and dictators have made for the past 50 years. "What's that, sir?" asked Corporal James Spider Park, the unit's youngest member at 22. "They forgot that Americans invented modern special operations. We wrote the book on asymmetric warfare, and when we disappear into the shadows, it's not because we're running away." Morrison's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "It's because we're hunting." The alien psychology was easier to understand than Earth's military analysts had initially thought. Most species in the Galactic Empire had evolved from prey animals. Their military doctrine emphasized overwhelming force, direct confrontation, and honorable battle. The concept of strategic retreat was foreign to them. In their minds, withdrawal meant cowardice. "They're about to learn the difference between retreating and repositioning," Morrison continued. "Tonight, we show these aliens what American soldiers do best. We're going to be the nightmare that haunts their dreams. We're going to be the shadow they can't escape. We're going to remind the galaxy why Earth's warriors have been called Boogeymen." The soldiers around him grinned in the darkness. For 3 months, they had endured shame and humiliation as the world branded them cowards. Tonight, they would remind everyone why America's enemies had learned to fear the dark. "Sir," Santos interrupted, monitoring her communication equipment, "I'm picking up transmissions from the Imperial fleet. They're celebrating the success of today's bombardment. Admiral Corthan is bragging to his subordinates about human cowardice." "Perfect," Morrison replied. "Overconfident enemies make the best targets. Chen, are the modified weapons ready?" "Yes, sir. 48 alien energy rifles, modified with human optics and targeting systems. Plus, I've managed to crack their personal shield generators. We can disable them with a simple frequency pulse." "Rodriguez, what about the explosives?" "We've got enough captured alien ordnance to level a small city, sir, all rigged with remote detonators. Plus, I've been working on something special." Rodriguez held up a device that looked like a standard alien grenade, but with additional components welded to its surface. Remember those stories about bounties on American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan? I've made something that will put a price on alien heads. Morrison raised an eyebrow. Psychological warfare round, sir. When this explodes, it broadcasts a message in all known Imperial languages. Basically says that any alien who kills an American gets a 1,000,000 credit bounty from Earth's government. It also includes detailed instructions on how to collect. The soldiers burst into quiet laughter. Captain Williams nodded approvingly. Paranoia is a powerful weapon. Get them wondering which of their own soldiers might betray them for human money. Brilliant, Morrison said. What about our escape routes? Multiple extraction points prepared, replied Lieutenant Jake Raven Thompson, the unit's navigation specialist. Underground tunnels, abandoned mines, and natural cave systems mapped throughout the operational area. We can disappear faster than they can respond. Morrison checked his watch. Intel reports suggest the Imperial ground forces rotate shifts at 0300 hours local time. That's when their night vision troops come on duty, and they'll be overconfident after watching New York burn. Permission to speak freely, sir, asked Sergeant First Class Michael Viper Adams. Granted. Some of the boys are wondering about rules of engagement. These aliens have killed American civilians. They've destroyed American cities. Are we taking prisoners? Morrison's expression hardened. The aliens invaded our world. They murdered innocent people. They branded us cowards while we prepared to defend our homeland. Tonight, we demonstrate that Americans don't take prisoners from enemies who target civilians. The cave fell silent except for the soft sounds of final weapons checks. Remember your training. Remember your brothers. And remember that the whole galaxy is watching, Morrison continued. In 6 hours, the Empire is going to learn that humans aren't cowards. We're something much worse. We're patient. As the soldiers dispersed to their final positions, Morrison remained in the command post with Captain Williams and Sergeant Santos. Sir, Williams said quietly, there's something else we need to discuss. Intelligence suggests the Empire has been monitoring our communications. They know we exist, but they think we're just scattered survivors hiding in the mountains. Good. Let them underestimate us. The problem is, they're planning something bigger. Santos intercepted a transmission about bringing in their elite forces, something called the Terror Guards. Morrison's jaw tightened. Details? Santos pulled up her tablet. From what we can gather, the Terror Guards are the Empire's version of special forces. They specialize in hunting down resistance movements on occupied worlds. Apparently, they've never failed to eliminate a planetary resistance. How many? Unknown, sir, but the transmission mentioned that they've been called in to deal with what the aliens are calling the human infestation problem. Morrison was quiet for a long moment, staring at the tactical maps spread across the makeshift command table. Sir? Williams prompted. Let them come, he said finally. We've spent 3 months learning to kill aliens. Time to see how their best stack up against America's finest. Outside the cave, the night was crisp and clear. Through the trees, the orange glow from the burning remains of New York City painted the horizon. 37 American soldiers moved through the darkness like ghosts, carrying weapons that would soon change the galaxy's opinion of human courage forever. In orbit above Earth, the Imperial fleet continued its celebrations. Admiral Corthan raised a toast to easy victory and cowardly humans. Commander Zethkar reviewed plans for tomorrow's bombardment targets. General Voxtar bragged about the Empire's unstoppable military might. None of them knew that in exactly 5 hours and 43 minutes, the American Boogeymen would begin the most devastating special operations campaign in galactic history. The Empire had made the classic mistake of confusing tactical patience with strategic cowardice. They were about to learn the difference. At 02:47 hours, Sergeant First Class Maria Santos whispered into her throat microphone from her position 300 meters from the Imperial Forward Operating Base. Overwatch confirms target rotation beginning. Night shift personnel taking positions. Through her modified alien scope, she could see the massive Ursinoid guards lumber toward their posts. The bear-like creatures stood nearly 8 feet tall and wore personal energy shields that shimmered like heat waves. They had good reason to be confident. Their shields could stop human bullets, their armor could deflect explosions, and their natural night vision made them perfect sentries. They had never faced American snipers. "Ghost team in position," came Chen's voice over the communications network. "Shields are down in 3, 2, 1. The frequency pulse was invisible, but Santos watched through her scope as the alien shields flickered and died. The Ursinoids didn't notice. Their technology was so advanced, so reliable, that the idea of system failure never occurred to them. "Boom team ready," Rodriguez reported from the eastern approach. "Charges set on the communication array and vehicle depot. Phantom team confirms psychological warfare package deployment ready," Captain Williams added. "Broadcasting equipment online." Colonel Morrison's voice was steady and calm over the network. "All teams, this is Reaper. Remember, we have exactly 12 minutes before their next check-in with the fleet. After that, they'll know something is wrong. Execute Operation Nightmare." Santos centered her crosshairs on the lead Ursinoid's head and squeezed the trigger of her modified alien rifle. The energy bolt traveled faster than sound, striking the creature between the eyes before it could react. The massive guard dropped without a sound, its natural armor useless against its own technology. Across the base perimeter, 11 more alien sentries died in the span of 4 seconds. American precision marksmanship enhanced by alien technology proved devastatingly effective. "Perimeter clear," came the whispered reports from sniper positions. "Moving to Phase 2. Inside the base, Lieutenant Thompson led his infiltration team through ventilation systems that the aliens had never thought to guard. The Empire's military doctrine didn't include concepts like stealth infiltration or sabotage. They conquered worlds through overwhelming force, not surgical strikes. "Command post located," Thompson reported as he watched a group of Krillian officers through a ventilation grate. 6 targets, no security measures. "Weapons depot identified," added Corporal Park from another position. "Minimal guards, maximum ordnance." The American soldiers moved like shadows through the alien base. They had studied Imperial construction methods for months, learning that the aliens built their installations like fortresses designed to withstand external assault, not internal infiltration. At precisely 0251 hours, Rodriguez's explosives detonated simultaneously across 3 Imperial installations. The aliens had never encountered coordinated attacks before. They were used to enemies who announced their presence with massive frontal assaults or orbital bombardments. The communication array for the main base vanished in a ball of blue flame. The vehicle depot erupted in secondary explosions as alien fuel systems overloaded. The power grid for the entire installation died as carefully placed charges severed the main conduits. "What in the name of the Emperor?" General Voxtar's voice boomed across the emergency communication channel. "All stations report status immediately." But there was no one left to report. Thompson's team had eliminated the command post with the same efficiency they had once used against terrorist leaders in a dozen different countries. The difference was that these aliens had never learned to fear the dark. "Sir," came a panicked voice from one of the surviving aliens. "The humans are here. They're in the base. They're everywhere." Morrison smiled grimly from his position overlooking the burning installation. Phase 1 was complete. Now came the psychological warfare. Captain Williams activated her broadcasting equipment. Suddenly, every Imperial communication frequency in the area filled with a message in perfect galactic standard. "Attention Imperial forces. You are being hunted by the United States Army Special Operations Command. We are not cowards. We are professionals. You have 10 minutes to evacuate this planet or join your dead comrades. The message repeated in 17 different Imperial languages, followed by detailed casualty reports from the 3 bases under attack. The aliens had lost over 200 soldiers in 6 minutes, without the Americans suffering a single casualty. "Reaper, this is Ghost," Chen's voice came over the radio. "Captured an alien transport. Permission to deliver the gift package." Morrison checked his watch. "Approved. Execute Phase 3. Chen's team had spent 2 months learning to operate captured Imperial vehicles. The alien transport rose silently from its hidden position and flew toward the main Imperial encampment 50 kilometers away. To Imperial sensors, it appeared to be a standard supply run. The transport landed in the center of the enemy camp and immediately exploded. But this was not an ordinary explosion. Rodriguez had packed the vehicle with a special cocktail of human and alien ordnance designed for maximum psychological impact. The blast created a mushroom cloud visible from orbit. The explosion was followed by a series of secondary detonations that spelled out "Boogeymen" in mile-high letters of fire across the night sky. The display lasted exactly 30 seconds before fading, leaving a message burned into the alien consciousness. "Sir!" An arachnid communications officer aboard the Vanguard of Truth chittered frantically. "We're receiving multiple distress calls from surface installations. Bases 7, 12, and 15 are under attack." Commander Zethkar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "Impossible! The humans are scattered and demoralized. Who could be mounting coordinated attacks?" "Sir, the attacks are using our own technology against us. Energy signatures match our weapons, but tactical patterns are completely unknown." "Put me through to General Voxtar immediately." The general's image appeared on screen, but he was clearly not at his command post. Explosions illuminated his face as he spoke from what appeared to be a battlefield. "Commander, we are under attack by forces unknown. The humans are using technology beyond our understanding." "Explain yourself, General. What forces? Our intelligence indicates no significant human military presence in your sector." "Sir, they appear from nowhere. They strike without warning. They use our own weapons with impossible accuracy." Another explosion rocked Voxtar's position. "We've lost 3 bases in 10 minutes. My casualties are approaching 300. Zethkar felt a cold certainty settle into his stomach. "General, are you telling me that scattered human survivors are defeating Imperial forces?" "Sir, these are not survivors. These are warriors. Professional soldiers operating with coordination and technology that surpasses our own capabilities." The communication cut to static. "Communications!" Zethkar barked. "Re-establish contact with General Voxtar immediately." "Sir, his command post has gone offline. All surface installations in Sector 7 are no longer responding." "What about reinforcements?" "Sir, the Terror Guards are en route. Admiral Corthan ordered their deployment 6 hours ago." Zethkar nodded grimly. The Terror Guards were the Empire's answer to any resistance movement. They had never failed to eliminate organized opposition on any world, elite soldiers from a dozen different species, equipped with the finest technology and led by Colonel Thex Moore, the Emperor's own nephew. "When do they arrive?" 2 hours, sir." "Good. Alert all remaining surface forces to maintain defensive positions and avoid engagement until the Terror Guards arrive. And send a message to Admiral Corthan. Tell him the humans may not be the cowards we thought they were." On Earth's surface, Colonel Morrison watched the alien reinforcement ships descend through the atmosphere. His thermal imaging equipment tracked the Terror Guard dropships as they deployed to defensive positions around the surviving Imperial installations. "Sir," Santos reported, "intelligence estimates approximately 500 Terror Guard troops, supported by heavy vehicles and personal shield generators." "Weapons analysis?" Morrison asked. Chen looked up from his captured equipment. "Advanced energy weapons, improved armor, and what appears to be enhanced communication systems. These aren't regular Imperial troops." Morrison studied the deployment patterns on his tactical display. The aliens were learning. Instead of spreading out in vulnerable positions, they were concentrating their forces and establishing overlapping fields of fire. "They're adapting faster than expected," Captain Williams observed. "They've stopped underestimating us." "Good," Morrison replied. "Time to show them what happens when Americans stop playing games." He activated his communication system and spoke to his scattered teams. "All Boogeymen, this is Reaper. Phase 4 is now active. The aliens have brought in their best troops to hunt us down. Intelligence suggests these terror guards have never been defeated." "Sir," Viper Adams interrupted, "my team has eyes on the enemy command post. Heavy security, but we can get close enough for direct action." "Negative, Viper. We're not going to attack them." "Sir?" Morrison's smile was predatory. "We're going to invite them to attack us. Santos, begin broadcasting our location on Imperial frequencies. Make sure they know exactly where to find us." "Sir?" Santos looked confused. "Sergeant, what's the first rule of special operations?" "Control the battlefield, sir." "Exactly. For 3 months, we've been fighting on their terms. Time to change the rules." Morrison pulled up a topographical map of their area. The Boogeymen had positioned themselves in a narrow valley surrounded by steep ridges. To conventional military thinking, it appeared to be a trap with no escape routes. "Sir," Williams said slowly, "if we broadcast our position, they'll surround us with 500 troops. We'll be outnumbered 15-1. "Correct. And that's exactly what we want." Morrison pointed to specific locations on the map. "Chen, how many explosive devices do we have positioned in these ridges?" Chen checked his tablet. 47 charges, sir. Enough to bring down both sides of the valley." "Rodriguez, what about the special packages?" 36 proximity mines rigged with psychological warfare broadcasts. When they explode, they'll broadcast surrender demands in Imperial languages while releasing captured Imperial identification transponders. Morrison's plan was becoming clear to his soldiers. They weren't just going to fight the terror guards. They were going to destroy them while making it appear that Imperial forces were betraying each other. "Sir," Santos said, "message sent. Imperial forces are responding. Estimated time to contact, 45 minutes. Morrison looked around at his 37 soldiers. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing the Empire's elite forces. By every conventional measure, they should have been terrified. Instead, they were smiling. "Boogeymen," Morrison said quietly. "In 45 minutes, 500 alien soldiers are going to attack our position. They believe they have us trapped. They think their superior numbers and technology guarantee victory. They have no idea that they're walking into the most carefully prepared killing field in military history." "Sir," Spider Park asked, "what if some of them survive to report back?" Morrison's expression was stone cold. "Corporal, what did we do to terrorists who targeted American civilians?" "We eliminated them, sir, completely." "And what are we going to do to aliens who burned New York City?" The soldiers answered in unison. "Eliminate them, sir. Completely." Morrison nodded. "Outstanding. The galaxy is about to learn why America's enemies call us Boogeymen. It's not because we're scary. It's because once we start hunting you, we never stop, and we never miss." As the terror guards advanced through the darkness toward what they believed was a trapped group of human survivors, they had no idea they were walking into an ambush designed by soldiers who had perfected the art of making enemies disappear. In space, Admiral Corthan waited confidently for reports of human elimination. Commander Zeth Carr prepared to resume orbital bombardments. General Voxtar's replacement reviewed plans for final planetary pacification. None of them knew that in 37 minutes the American Boogeymen would demonstrate why Earth's military had never been defeated when fighting on home soil, and why the galaxy's definition of coward was about to change forever. Colonel Thexmore crouched behind a fallen log as energy bolts sizzled overhead. The Terror Guard commander was beginning to understand why his uncle, Emperor Thaxmore, had personally chosen him for this mission. The humans were not what Imperial intelligence had reported. "Colonel!" shouted Major Crixtal, his arachnid second-in-command. "We've lost contact with Alpha, Bravo, and Delta squads." They walked into the valley and vanished. Thexmore's reptilian features twisted in concentration. In 20 years of eliminating resistance movements, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans had lured his terror guards into what appeared to be a simple trap, then systematically destroyed 3 of his best squads without a trace. "What are our casualties?" he hissed. 67 confirmed dead, sir. No survivors, no wounded. They're simply gone." The ground beneath Thexmore's feet suddenly erupted. His personal shields absorbed the explosion, but the psychological warfare broadcast that followed made his blood run cold. Terror Guard Alpha Squad eliminated by Imperial Beta Squad for cowardice in the face of the enemy. Bounty of 10 million credits claimed by Sergeant Voxnick for executing traitors. All remaining Terror Guards are ordered to surrender to the nearest Imperial authority for court-martial proceedings. The message was in perfect Krillian, complete with proper military codes and identification signatures. More disturbing, the voice belonged to Sergeant Voxnick, who had died in the first wave of attacks. "Sir," Major Crixtal chittered frantically, "the troops are becoming suspicious of each other. They believe Imperial forces are targeting us for elimination." Thexmore snarled. Psychological warfare was a concept the Empire understood in theory, but had never encountered in practice. Their enemies had always been straightforward, fighting with honor even when facing impossible odds. "All squads, this is Colonel Thexmore," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Disregard all previous broadcasts. We are under attack by human forces using captured equipment. Maintain formation and advance on the valley floor." From his position on the eastern ridge, Master Sergeant Chen smiled as he monitored Imperial communications. "Ghost Team to Reaper. Enemy commander is smarter than expected. He's maintaining unit cohesion despite psychological pressure." Morrison's voice crackled over the radio. "Acknowledged, Ghost. Time for Phase 5. Light them up." The valley floor erupted in coordinated explosions as 47 carefully placed charges detonated simultaneously. The Terror Guards found themselves caught in a crossfire between the collapsing ridges and the explosive devices Rodriguez had scattered throughout their approach route. But these were not ordinary Imperial soldiers. The Terror Guards lived up to their reputation, responding to the ambush with professional precision. Their personal shields absorbed most of the blast damage, and their enhanced armor protected them from falling rocks. "Impressive," Morrison muttered from his command position. "Santos, casualty assessment?" "Approximately 30% of enemy forces eliminated, sir. The rest are regrouping behind that rock formation." Morrison nodded. The Terror Guards were proving to be worthy opponents. Time to remind them who wrote the book on asymmetric warfare. "Phantom Team, execute Phase 6. Captain Williams activated a different type of psychological warfare device. Instead of fake messages, this one broadcast something much more terrifying. The recorded voices of Terror Guard soldiers who had died in previous battles against human forces, calling out the names of their comrades who were still fighting. "Thexmore," came the voice of Major Grixnar, who had been killed in the first wave. "Why did you leave us to die? We trusted you, and you abandoned us to the human demons." "Colonel," another dead voice called, "the humans are coming for you. They know your name. They know your family. They know where you sleep. You cannot escape the Boogeymen." The psychological impact was devastating. Terror Guard soldiers began firing at shadows, convinced their dead comrades had returned as vengeful spirits. Their disciplined formation began to crack under the pressure of fighting an enemy that seemed to know everything about them. Colonel Thexmore recognized what was happening. All squads, ignore the broadcasts. Humans are using our own dead against us. Maintain visual contact with your squad mates and advance by fire teams. From concealed positions throughout the valley, 37 American soldiers watched as the aliens tried to adapt to unconventional warfare. The Terror Guards were learning quickly, but they were fighting an enemy that had perfected these techniques over decades of conflict. Viper team in position, Adams reported from the southern approach. Request permission to engage. Granted. All teams, weapons free. Show these aliens what American soldiers do best. The next 15 minutes redefined Imperial understanding of small unit tactics. The Americans used every trick they had learned in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, and a dozen other battlefields. They appeared from impossible positions, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before the aliens could respond. Sergeant Santos put a round through Colonel Thexmore's personal shields from 800 meters away, using calculations that accounted for alien technology, human physics, and environmental conditions that the Empire's computers couldn't process. Corporal Park eliminated an entire Terror Guard fire team with explosives that detonated in sequence, herding the aliens into a prepared killing zone where Staff Sergeant Rodriguez was waiting with captured alien heavy weapons. Lieutenant Thompson led his team through underground tunnels that the aliens didn't know existed, emerging behind enemy lines to eliminate their command and control elements before disappearing again into the darkness. Master Sergeant Chen used electronic warfare techniques to turn the aliens' own communication systems against them, broadcasting false orders that sent Terror Guard squads into carefully prepared ambushes. The Americans fought like ghosts, like legends, like the nightmares that had haunted humanity's enemies for generations. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they were fighting on home soil, using tactics perfected against the world's deadliest adversaries. Colonel Thexmore found himself trapped behind a boulder with only 6 surviving Terror Guards as American fire destroyed his remaining forces with surgical precision. For the first time in his military career, he was facing an enemy that was simply better than he was. Major Crixtall, he whispered into his communication device. Can you reach the transport ships? Negative, sir. The humans have eliminated our extraction routes. We're trapped in this valley with no reinforcements and no escape. Thexmore closed his eyes and tried to understand how this had happened. The Terror Guards were the Empire's finest soldiers. They had conquered a dozen worlds and eliminated countless resistance movements. How could they be defeated by primitive humans who were supposed to be cowards? Sir, one of his remaining soldiers whispered, I can see movement in the rocks above us. They're closing in. Thexmore looked up to see the silhouettes of human soldiers moving across the ridgeline like hunting wolves. They moved with a confidence and coordination that spoke of professional military training far beyond anything the Empire had encountered. Colonel Thexmore, came a voice in perfect galactic standard from a hidden speaker. This is Colonel Jack Morrison, United States Army. You are surrounded by American Special Operations Forces. Your men are dead. Your ships are destroyed. Your mission has failed. Thexmore's translator identified the accent as North American English. The voice was calm, professional, and absolutely certain. I'm going to offer you a choice, Colonel, Morrison continued. Surrender now, and you'll be treated according to the Galactic Convention on Prisoners of War. Continue fighting, and you'll join the rest of your Terror Guards. How do you know who I am? Thexmore called out. We know everything about you, Colonel. We know you're the Emperor's nephew. We know you graduated first in your class from the Imperial War College. We know you've never been defeated in combat. We know your wife's name is Siltha, and your children are named Kex and Morin. The psychological impact was devastating. Thexmore realized that the humans had been studying the Empire for months, learning not just about military tactics, but about individual soldiers, their families, their histories. We also know, Morrison's voice continued, that you're an honorable soldier fighting for what you believe is right. That's why you're getting this chance to surrender. The same chance will not be extended to the animals who burned our cities. Thexmore looked at his remaining soldiers. They were terrified, demoralized, and surrounded by an enemy that had proven superior in every aspect of warfare. He had two choices: die fighting hopelessly or surrender to creatures the Empire had dismissed as cowards. "Colonel Morrison," he called out, "what guarantee do I have that my soldiers will be treated humanely?" "My word as an American officer." Thexmore had studied human history as part of his intelligence briefing. He knew that American military officers had a reputation for keeping their promises, even to enemies. It was a concept the Empire found primitive, but admirable. "I surrender my remaining forces to your custody," he announced, standing slowly with his hands visible. His 6 surviving soldiers followed his lead, emerging from cover with their weapons lowered. Morrison's voice came over hidden speakers throughout the valley. "All Boogeymen, this is Reaper. Terror guards have surrendered. Cease fire and secure prisoners." American soldiers materialized from concealed positions throughout the valley. They moved with professional efficiency, securing weapons and treating wounded aliens with the same medical attention they would give their own soldiers. Colonel Thexmore found himself face-to-face with Colonel Morrison for the first time. The human was smaller than expected, with graying hair and weathered features that spoke of decades of combat experience. But his eyes held an intelligence and determination that Thexmore recognized immediately. "You fought well, Colonel," Morrison said, extending his hand in the human gesture of respect. "Your soldiers died bravely." Thexmore accepted the handshake, noting the calluses that spoke of years handling weapons and equipment. "Colonel Morrison, I must ask, how many soldiers do you command?" 37. 37? Thexmore's voice cracked. "I brought 500 terror guards to eliminate what intelligence estimated were scattered human survivors. You destroyed my entire force with 37 soldiers?" Morrison's smile was grim. "Colonel, you made the same mistake every other enemy has made over the past 70 years. You confused tactical withdrawal with strategic cowardice. Americans don't run because we're afraid. We run because we're repositioning for a better shot." In orbit above Earth, the Imperial fleet watched in stunned silence as their most elite forces were eliminated by what they had dismissed as primitive cowards. Admiral Corthan's flagship received Thexmore's final transmission before his capture, and the implications were staggering. "Communications," Corthan ordered. "Put me through to High Command immediately." Emperor Thexmore's image appeared on the main screen, his reptilian features showing concern. "Admiral, what is the status of the Terror Guard operation?" "Your Majesty, they have been completely eliminated. Colonel Thexmore is presumed captured or dead. 500 of our finest soldiers were destroyed by a small human unit operating with technology and tactics we've never encountered." The Emperor's silence was deafening. "Admiral," he said finally, "you are telling me that humans eliminated the terror guards?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Intelligence has been completely wrong about human military capabilities. These are not cowards or primitive warriors. These are professional soldiers operating at a level that surpasses our own. What are your recommendations?" Corthan looked at the tactical displays showing the devastation on Earth's surface. "Immediate withdrawal from the Sol system, Your Majesty. We have gravely underestimated this species. If 37 humans can eliminate 500 terror guards, what would happen if they decided to take the war to us?" The Emperor's expression showed the dawning realization that the Empire had made a catastrophic error. "Admiral, begin immediate evacuation of all Imperial forces from Earth. Send a message to the human government offering formal apologies and reparations for our misunderstanding. Your Majesty, there may be another problem. These humans have captured Imperial technology, communications equipment, and now prisoners. They know our weaknesses, our tactical doctrine, and our strategic capabilities. The silence that followed was filled with the implications of humanity's new position in galactic affairs. On Earth's surface, Colonel Morrison watched the alien fleet begin its withdrawal from orbit. His communication equipment crackled with messages from governments around the world, all wanting to know how 37 American soldiers had saved the planet from alien invasion. "Sir," Captain Williams approached with a tablet showing news feeds from around the globe. "The aliens are broadcasting their surrender on all frequencies. They're calling it a tactical withdrawal pending diplomatic resolution, but everyone knows they're running." Morrison looked at his soldiers as they secured the battlefield and prepared captured alien technology for analysis. The American Boogeymen had accomplished something that would be remembered for generations. They had faced the galaxy's finest warriors and proven that Earth's defenders were not to be underestimated. "Sir," Sergeant Santos interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. They want to negotiate prisoner exchange and formal cessation of hostilities." Morrison smiled. "Tell them they can negotiate with the Pentagon. Our job here is finished." As news of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy, the Empire's assessment of Earth changed overnight. The species they had branded as cowards became legend. Military academies throughout Imperial space began studying American tactics. Other resistance movements requested human advisors. The reputation of Earth's warriors grew with each retelling of how 37 soldiers had defeated 500 of the galaxy's elite. The American Boogeymen had done more than save Earth from invasion. They had established humanity as a force to be respected throughout the galaxy. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, humanity's enemies learned to fear the night, because that's when the Boogeymen come out to hunt.